this time I brought in a powerful guest, Wadalooping from the System Escape. By comparing two different kickflips, we'll scientifically analyze what must be done, what must be avoided, and what can vary depending on the preference. Key points. If you flick up like in this practice and apply a vertically upward force to the board, there's no way it flips. But as soon as you roll your ankle and do exactly the same motion, things change. But if you flick with your knee closed, you'll just end up pushing your board forward. So open your front knee and direct your flick this way. Let's look at each of these in detail. First, let's think about the flicking motion and compare how each of us uses our feet. In his case, you can see that he uses his ankle very flexibly, flipping the board with an extremely compact and fast ankle movement. If you look at the angle, the flicking motion starts at around 50 degrees. As he starts moving, the tip of the front foot goes down, flicks the board, and it reaches around 100 degrees. How about in my case? My knee lifts higher than his, and in my intention, I'm not trying to use my ankle. Instead, I try to swing out my lower leg just a little bit, like up to this point. Everything that happens after this point is just a result of inertia, including the upward motion of the ankle. So, what do we have in common? It's the direction of the flicking force. It's somewhat downward and forward. Depending on the board's angle, sometimes it's better to flick this way or that way, but it never is this way. The most important thing is that we do use the same muscles that raise the toes, but the direction of the force is not vertically up. When people explain flicking upward, they often describe it as using the ankle like this. But what does it do? Scratch the surface? Intuitively, you know it can't cause a flip. Imagine the board comes up like so, and you flick it vertically up. They would just go up together, right? Just to be clear, flicking upward itself is not wrong, it's just missing a vital point. Now do the same thing, but this time you tilt your leg. The motion is the same, but the direction of the force you apply to the board changes. Does it make sense? In both cases, the muscles you use are the same, the ones that are responsible for raising the toes. But by tilting the leg and rolling the ankle, the direction of the force changes. So in that sense, you can even say flicking vertically upward, like in this practice, is wrong, but using the muscles to flick upward is not. You just have to change the direction. Again, by flicking up like this, there's no way the board flips. It's just like swiping a phone. Does your phone flip by swiping it? Probably not. Instead, you kind of do use the motion of the ankle in this practice, but you need to direct it downward. And to make that happen, you need to roll your ankle. Well, that is something you have to spend enough time getting used to. When you focus so much on flipping the board, it is natural that your ankle stiffens. I'm afraid there's no easy way to solve this but to practice. Getting used to the feeling of an ollie definitely helps you. Another common misunderstanding is the idea that because your front foot rises from the ground, you should flick upward. This is wrong. For example, if there is a skateboard floating in the air and you want to flip it, then you would flick downward. But when you are in a rocket, seen from outside, the path of your front foot goes diagonally up. See, the board is going up, and you are going up while flicking down, because that's the direction of the force the board needs to flip. Are you flicking up because you gain height from the ground? No, absolutely not. This is an extreme example, but the same principle applies to kickflips. The force you should apply to the board is diagonally downward. and no matter how much you flick downward, as long as the knee is rising, or at least not dropping, your foot will not hit the ground first. Of course, kicking downward is wrong, but if you roll your ankle before flicking, you can flick downward as hard as you want without your front foot touching the ground. We now understand in the flicking motion, we must roll the ankle before flicking. And we must avoid flicking vertically up. But how to flick itself can vary. Depending on how you use your body, you can either emphasize the motion of the ankle or rely on the swing of the lower leg. The result is the same, the foot goes down and forward while gaining height from the ground. Next is the knee angle. Let's compare our movements using a 3D model. In his case, the knee starts closed and gradually opens toward the end of the flicking motion. In my case, even at the beginning, my knee is already open quite a lot, and continues to do so toward the end. This shows that what is the must universally is to have your knee opened by the moment you flick. But until then, whether you have your shoulders parallel to the board so that your front knee directs toward the toe side, or you have your shoulders open and direct your knee forward is optional. Mine looks ugly though. The open front knee angle allows the front foot to flick the side of the nose and causes the board to flip. Otherwise, the front foot ends up pushing the board forward. While you know you should flick the nose this way, due to the structure of the human body, the knee cannot bend that way. So the only way that seems plausible to flip the board is to kick it down. And what makes it even worse is the expression flick upward. Because your front foot drops to the ground, you may raise your front foot even higher. But just like I explained, flicking upward itself does not cause a flip. And worse still, before you know it, your front foot reaches a point where you can't raise it any higher, and there's no other option but to kick down. So because you kick down, you try to flick up, but that is the real culprit that makes you kick down even more. In order to break this bad cycle, forget flicking upward and open your knee and direct your flick this way. There's a clear symptom of this problem that appears in the back foot. It moves aggressively as a reaction to the strong downward kick of the front foot. As a result, both feet almost never become level. One foot is always rapidly rising or falling. If you look at the Wadalooping's kickflip as an example of proper front foot usage, after flicking, his feet return to the same height before landing. Meaning, if your feet go up and down aggressively, there's a strong chance that you're raising your front foot too high, which is caused by trying to flick up without opening the knee. In summary, in light of the knee angle, you must open it when you flick. And you must avoid flicking up while it's closed. And you can adjust the overall shoulder angle and the knee angle when you crouch. Finally, please try the Whythetrick AR system. You can now view the 3D animations, including the ones in this video, right in front of your eyes from any angle you want. It's free, all you need is a phone. There is so many things I couldn't explain in this video, so please use this system and find an angle suitable for you. And that's all for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.